Hi, time to paint another painting, and we're going to paint a nice little snow scene with some cold weather. And if you'll notice the painting that we're going to do, why I'll kind of explain a little bit about it anyway. I'm just going to use my finger to point with, or hand. Again, we're going to grade the sky, but it's going to be a little lighter sky because this is a winter time, and the skies are not as blue as they are in the summer. And of course, the distant trees back here, if you remember how we did those in lesson number 1, well, we'll do the same thing in this. And actually, this is kind of a copy of what we did in lesson number 1. The only thing really different about this is the fact that we don't have the mountain, and then we have the snow rather than the green grass. And then we also have a little fence post here for a little added interest. So that's what we're going to paint. Now let's go down to our palette. Now we do have 2 paints out here. We have the western sky and warm snow. Now we want to remember this is going to be a little different sky than lesson number 1, so we're going to add a little bit more of the warm snow to the western sky. And so rather than I have out here more warm snow than I do of the western sky, and so we're going to use about half and half. Use half the warm snow and half the western sky, and then maybe a little bit more warm snow, because we don't want this too blue. And kind of leave it up to you. If it is quite a deep blue, I add some more warm snow to it. But I'm saying that I have probably 2 parts warm snow and 1 part western sky, and that's about what we want to start with here. Okay, that's good enough. Now, again, we'll go with our background brush. And now, this is wet, but not real wet, but we do have to thin this paint some. Okay, that should be about right. So that's nice. Load up the brush. Starting at the top up here, we'll paint this just as we did lesson number 1. We'll come down about 4 inches. This is a graded sky, but we're going to have more humidity into it, and it's just going to be a colder sky. Is what the deal is. Okay, I'm down at least 4, maybe 5 inches. Let's go down to our palette again. Now I'm going to add the rest of the warm snow to our base sky color here. This will be quite a little bit lighter, but that's kind of what we want to do with this. And this is a good way to mix this. Now, if you rather than going in and stirring like this, go through it with your knife like this. Then come back and go through it in another direction like this, and that really mixes that quite quickly. Okay, I'm gonna wash out my brush. And we'll come back and pick up our new coloring. Okay, let's try it. Okay, right underneath here, we're going to do the same thing as we did in lesson number 1. We're going to come down another. We're going to go all the way down to the bottom, or to the 2/3 of the way down there, painting, and then slowly back up and press hard where the two come together. Do that, go through that a couple times. Then I think that's just right. That's just a nice, cool sky. So let's let it stay like that. You go ahead and paint that in as I have. Then we're going to come back and put in some distant pine trees back on both sides of this. Now, we have two new paints out here. This one is Dark Forest. This one is Distant Pine. Now what we're going to do, we're going to put some quite distant pine in our painting. So to start with, I'm going to take a little bit of distant pine, move it to another area here, and to that I'm going to mix about the same amount of the sky base that we had. Mix the two together, and this is going to give us some good distance. So there's our sky base, and there is the distant pine, so we mix those two together. And this will give us the illusion that the distance and also snow in and on the trees. Okay, that's good. Now I've already washed out my brush. I have to make sure there's a little bit of thinning water in there. That's plenty thin. This has to be quite thin though, incidentally. Okay, so we're using the background brush and pick that up, and we'll go up and start our trees. I think right in this area to start with, and this is about 1/3 up from the bottom or 2/3 down, and about at horizon, right in there. So let's just put in a row of trees like this, about they're maybe 1/2 inch high to something like that. Come over to about there. Now let's go back to our palette. Now we're through with this for the time being. We have the distant pine here, and I'm going to add just a little bit of the dark forest to the distant pine. Not very much, just a little bit. And this is going to bring our trees in closer to us. And I think we'll put these in with a fan brush. I think that's probably what we'll do. I may want to put a little more dark forest in there. Okay, now hold everything. Fan brush, and we'll pick this up. Okay, starting in this area, we're going to drop that just a little bit lower than this is over here. Not much, but 1/4 of an inch, maybe something like that. And then we're going to put this in a little more definite, a little more, thin that a little bit more. And we'll use the same strokes that we used before. Okay, I think that's probably about good enough. Now let's go back to our palette. Right in here, we have the paint that we were just using, the combination of paints, and to that I'm going to add some more of the dark forest. Now we're coming in closer with some other pine trees. We're just building closer. That's really all we're doing. But we're with the mixture of 1/2 and 1/2, just about, of the distant pine and dark forest. And again, we'll use the fan brush. And I'll clean it out a little bit. And pick this up. Now let's go up. And right in to probably, now here's the center of our painting, right in through here. We're going to move a little bit over to the left of center and drop this another 1/2 inch to put, and I'm just going to fill this in solid. Put a line over here, here, here. Fill this in solid. Okay, now load it up again, and we'll do as we did in lesson number 1. To bring some tops of these trees up here. Seen them come up. And I have my brush in this way now, not flat like we did before, but like this. We just bring that right up. And you can have a little space in between there. I think that looks kind of good. We're over in front of this. So I think that's really what we need to do now. We do have the 3 different operations where we put the combination of distant pine and a little bit of the sky base for these trees back here. And then we used distant pine with a hint of the dark forest for this area in here, and then we have the half and half distant pine and half dark forest for this grouping right in here. So you put those in like that, then we're going to come back and put our snow in front of these then. I have put out some more warm snow, and we're just going to put fill in the rest of the panel, and we'll use warm snow and the background brush. And I have thinned that, or I've used heavy water in there, so we're thinning this as I'm mixing. Okay, that should be just about right now. So I have that loaded up. And over here where we have this, I'm just going to put our paint right on there, about like that. Come right up to here and paint this in. Okay, now let's see, I think I'll come over on this side over here now. And you can have that rather uneven line there, in a way that looks good, going up a kind of a hill or something here. Okay. Load up again. Remember, you have to load up quite often to come right underneath here. Okay, now we'll paint this in solid. Okay, now that's really all we have to do for the next step. Then we're going to come back and put a little grouping of individual trees closer to us right in this area. Then over on this side I'm going to put a large tree quite close to us. And then also maybe in this area we're going to put an old fence post. So that's what we have to look forward to. Now, we're going to put in some trees, like I said, and I'm going to just use dark forest without putting anything into it now. When we get into the lessons a little more, I'll show you some different other colors to put in there to make this a little more realistic. But to keep it simple and easy, we'll just go with this. Now, I think, well, let's do this. I'm going to put the trees, I'm going to drop them down to about here because we're coming in quite close. So I'm going to just put a point down here that we're going to paint down to. So let's see, about, I think we'll put one tree about here. There's the top of it. And then using the corner of the brush, come right in here and paint this tree in. Now you have to load up quite often. Okay. Now we have one tree, and I'm going to put another one a little closer and put the top of it about there. And then you just jab that in there. Let there be room for the branches. Let there be room between the branches. Okay, now my paint's a little bit wet right down here, so you can see there is a difference in that. But after we put the snow on, I don't think, and the lights on the trees, why that won't show, I don't think. Okay, well, we have one tree there, one there. Let's go with one about there. And bring that right down to there. Okay. I'll tell you what, I think I'll let you go ahead and paint those three trees in as I have, just using dark forest, and then that'll give this a chance to dry a little bit so that we can put in our large tree over here. Now we need to put our large tree on the left. And again, we'll use the dark forest and fan brush. Load up the fan brush. And we'll go up. Let's go quite high with this little hammer up here. And let's keep a very slim profile on this tree so we won't cover up all this out here. And it looks kind of nice to see one of those slim profile trees anyway. And again, we'll start right here and get this little guy coming down here. Just like that. Now this will be pretty good composition for when we get through our finished with the placing the tree and the fence post. See how that adds depth back there. Okay, we're coming down to about there. Now, I think that looks about pretty good. We'll leave that like that. I think then I'll let you go ahead and paint in your tree. Then we're going to come back and put in some light forest on our trees, probably some back in this area, and on here. I have put out some light for us now to put the sunshine on our trees. I tell you what I think I'm going to do, because of the distance of those mid-ground trees. I'm going to, and we have plenty of time, I'll put a little bit of lights on those. Not a lot, but I'm going to, using a dry brush, pick up some paint and put it over here just to take out the excess paint out of the brush. This is number 4 round. And then so we can use the side of the brush on these trees in here. Let's do this. Now if you are using a table easel, chances are you're going to have to lift your painting, because the bottom of the brush would be hitting the table. So let's I have a situation that I don't have to worry about that, but I didn't want you to know about that. And we won't put this on very strong. Oh, I have to move some things here. Just lightly. But there's one thing maybe that you did know or do not know, but the green in evergreen trees in the wintertime is extra green compared to what it is in the summertime. Now I know not whether that's because of the tree or because of the background, that it just looks like it's greener, but it just has a greener tint to it. So we'll put this on pretty good shape here. And we still have to put snow on. Light touch, light touch, light touch. There. That's good. Now if we were going for realism and had the time, we would put some trunks on some of these trees, let that be, and some dead timber back in here. But again, to keep it simple for those who are just learning the techniques, we'll just let it stay like that. Okay, now again, we'll just pick up some of the light forest with the fan brush on the trees back in here now. Let's start with the tree on the right. And all we do is just cover that, go over the top of the base that we have on there. And just let the end of the brush put the paint on for you. Okay, load up again. Just come up to this one up here. Keep my hand out of the way so that you can see what I'm doing. It's kind of hard to do, but by gosh, we can do it. There. See, that is really quite green, and it shows green against a light background. So I am inclined to believe that's more why it looks so green, more than the fact that they are greener in color. Okay, now again on this one. Touch, touch. Now I would suggest that because of making this easy for you to see, why I'm keeping my hand down below here, but I would suggest as you put those on, keep that perpendicular to the panel or canvas that you're painting on, and then you will get a better, it'll look more realistic, I think. So just to explain that, now I think we can come right over and hit on the tree on the left. So again, I'll try and keep my hand out of the way here. This really is a skinny tree, but you know, there are trees like that. They're practically the same circumference or diameter, whatever, all the way down. Okay, now we have the green on there, and I think that's about all we're going to need now. You put the light forest on, then we're going to come back and I think we'll start putting the snow on our trees. Now we're going to put some snow on our trees using the number 4 round brush. And to start this with our intermediate trees, we'll load up our brush and then come over and clean it out. And again, we'll use a dry brush technique. There, that should probably be about right. So here we go. We won't worry about these back in here or here, but I think this is up close enough would be catching a little bit of snow in the trees. Now, we have to be very careful we don't just cover up these trees with snow. We just want to touch here and there. And I mean just a touch here and there. It's so easy to overdo on this. See there, just the roughness of the panel is all that's catching the paint, but it looks about right for that distance. I have to move my paint here. And again, if you're using table easel, you probably have to raise the panel a little bit. Okay, now we can see the snow in the trees back there. Let's again, we'll go back to our palette. Now, let's gather up our warm snow again, and still using the number 4 round. I'm going to take a little bit of that out of there, and I'm going to flatten that brush just a tiny bit, so I think we'll have better control for our snow. On the trees over here, we're going to put a little snow, and it's just a touch here and there. And this is one place that's so easy to cover up the whole tree with this. So easy does it. That's all I can say. Easy does it. Now we're going to come back and use some cool snow on this also. And I might suggest we don't put too much right at the top, because you are below the top of the tree looking up, and you wouldn't see as much snow as if it was even with your eyes at eye level. Now see, I'm kind of laying that on the branches now as we come down here. There, I think that's about good enough. Now back here, again, light touch. See, don't take long. Don't spend much time on it. Now let's come over here and go with on this old tree here. We'll touch that just a little bit. Now see, that's really directly above us, so we won't see much snow up there. As we come down the tree, then we can put some more snow on. So it's a little more visible. There you go. And you can see I'm leaving a little bit of area over in this where there is no warm snow. We'll be putting some cool snow on there. Okay, now. Okay, I think that's going to be good for our, and we'll come back in the next part of the lesson and put in the cool snow on our trees here, and we probably won't even bother putting any back here. And then we can also start putting our shadowing on from the trees. So put on your warm snow now, and then we'll put on the cool snow. We have some cool snow to put on our trees and also for shadowing underneath the trees. So and I might mention I'm using the number 2 scriber brush or whatever you call it. Anyway, that's what we're going to use. Alright, we'll just work on the trees in here, the individual trees. Now we want to remember our light is coming from the left, so we will be in the shadows on the right side of the tree, and we won't worry too much about shadowing on the right side of the tree. Now where there's a bunch of snow, and chances are that's casting a shadow right underneath there, but we don't want to put too much time doing that. Let's see, here we are putting on the shadowed snow. Okay, pick up some more. Now we have one tree done. Let's hit this in just a little bit. Okay, now this one. Okay, now the large or the close tree here. There we go. And I think that's probably about all we need to put on that little tree. We need to also put our shadowing from our trees. And again, the sun is coming from the left, so on the right side of the trees, we'll put some shadowing out here using the number 2 liner brush, as I understand the name of that is. Come right out here just a little way, about like that. And there's the shadowing for this tree. We'll be using this shadowing again when we're going to put a little vegetation out into the snow out here, so each one of those will cast a little bit of shadowing. Okay, I think that's about good enough. Let's go with, now there wouldn't be anything from this one back here. Let's catch this little hummer. Come right out here. This come out about that far. And again, don't make that very wide. That's really a skinny tree, and this has to be more skinny down here on our shadow. So I think that's about all we need to put on there for for the shadowed snow right now. You go ahead and put that on, then we'll come back and put our fence post in and some little vegetation and some shadowing. Now I have noticed on the painting that I have come a little bit forward with the shadowing of the trees on the right. So I want to correct that, and again I'll just use some warm snow that I have here, plus the little #2 round brush. Okay, now as you can see right in here, we've come forward with that, and that's probably the angle that I'm looking at. I have to make excuses too, but I am going to correct that, and I'm going to go in and paint that out with warm snow. Go right over the top of that, and then we'll probably use a little cool snow to make it better. I like that much better because it is showing you that it's easy to make a mistake. I realize it's the first one I've ever made, but and I'm glad it happened on camera so you could see. Okay, now I'm going to go back and pick up a little bit of cool snow and take this. I think this is pretty good shape coming out here. It's just the other one was not where I wanted to be. Now these are close enough together that they would not be particularly separated shadows. Okay, now that's more what we want. I need a little bit blue right here. All right, that's better. We'll let that stay like that. Now, let's go down to our palette. This is, I wish I could brush a little bit more. This is mahogany, and we'll just be using this to start with anyway. First, I'm going to put in our fence post, and we'll just use plain mahogany to do this, and the #2 round liner. And we want to put this post in probably in this area right here. Let's make the top of it about at eye level or horizon. So let's start it about here, and I'm going to have it tip in just a little bit. Okay, here we go. All right, I think that's about right for our post. Now I'm going to use the fan brush, clean it out, pick up some of the mahogany here, and this is going to be just some weeds going out here, and of course they're going to be warmer in color, so let's try this. Again, we don't want a lot of disturbance in here, but I think it looks good just to have little bits of grasses or weeds or something coming out of the snow. And see how I'm just letting the end of the brush put the hairs on the brush actually put the paint on our panel. And these are going to have shadowing on them too. Down here I think we can put some a little longer. Okay, now over here let's put a little bit. Don't want too much. Here a little bit. And I'm not even going to go back that direction and put any in. This is to show a little interest in the foreground here. I think that's good enough. Maybe a little bit right back here. Okay, and I think that's good enough for what we want to do. You go ahead and paint that in about like that. Then I think we can come back and finish up the painting. Now we'll finish up our painting and our lesson. And this is just some touch-up work we're going to do now. And first off, we'll take a little cool snow with a little liner brush, and let's put a shadow from the fence post coming out here. And don't make that very wide, whatever you do. Or too long. That's really about as much as you need. And then we're going to have shadowing from the little grasses out here. And don't go overboard with that, which is easy to do. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Now, we need to put some snow on top of the fence post, and we'll use warm snow for that. So I'll pick up a little warm snow, come back and put some right up here. A little glob of snow on the fence post. Now we have one more thing to do. We're going to put a couple wires on that, and we'll use the number, this same brush, and so we need to go down to our palette. And I'm going to pick up a little bit of mahogany, and I'm going to move it over here, and I'm going to thin that pretty good. I'm adding water to that. This has to be a very thin line. Now, as you can see, I am putting that brush in there, dragging it back this way, and as I do, I turn the brush, and this puts a point on our brush. We want a very fine point on there for our wire. Okay, now again, let's I would rather first off and say I'd rather that you didn't try to put wire on this if you're going to make it too wide. Otherwise it looks like a post with some branches coming out of it, and we don't want that. So this is a very light touch. And even if there's places where there's nothing showing but snow, that's fine, because there would be snow on this wire if it was a still day. Okay, now there's that side. Let's come with one over here. This could show pretty good through that. Okay, now there's a wire on there. Let's do another one. We'll just have one here. Take it out this way. Come down and into the snow there. Now my brush is separating a little bit, so I have to come back and again a very fine line. And I might suggest, if you have a chance, that you try this on something, even on your palette or something, rather than on the painting, until you find that you can do a a fine line. We'll put that down into the snow, and over in here, let's bring it out of the snow and have it about like that, and down into the snow again. Okay, now we have our wire on there, and it's plenty wide. Hopefully you will do a better job than I did, but don't get it any wider than that. If you see that you're doing that, try and correct it. Get a finer and finer point on your brush. Okay, I think we have just about everything on there that we're going to need for the end of this painting. So go ahead and put that on as I have, and then you can wait for the next lesson.